Hey everyone, got a question for you this week. What do baking, making promises, and building character have in common? No? No answers? Well, I'm here to tell you. Dr. Jones here with another one of your weekly video messages, and this one comes from none other than my wife, who teaches English and has for multiple years. But the whole idea of making promises, which we all talk about making, right? Even when we set goals that I talk about often, we're making ourselves a promise, much less when we promise to other people. Both are incredibly important. One is much more visible and shines a light on your character more than the other, and that's making promises to other people. So, in a discussion with my wife, she mentioned pie crust promises. That's right, you heard me, pie crust promises. Now, I tend to like pie a lot. However, when I asked her just what she means by pie crust promises, because it caught my attention, she said, well, simple. They're easy to make, and they're really easy to break. Think about that for a second. A pie crust promise, one that's really easy to make and really easy to break. Now, how many times have you made promises to people knowing that you're not going to fulfill that promise, but it gets you out of the conversation, it gets you out of the uncomfortableness of saying no to somebody? A word many of us struggle with. Even though we want to say it, we don't. So instead, we fall into the trap of making a pie crust promise, which, once it gets broken, the person loses trust in us. The person starts to look at us different, or people, or organization, because we have not delivered on something that we said we would deliver on. We made a promise. And now what does that say about our character? You see, oftentimes people talk about character and they mix it up with integrity or under the larger word of integrity. And they talk about whether it's lying or being honest or anything like that. But I look at character also as encompassing how we handle hardship, how we struggle through obstacles. Because we're not all born with a massive amount of character. It's something that we have to build up by overcoming obstacles that get in our way, by problem solving, by pushing through, by persevering. And if we make a pie crust promise, well, what that says is that we're shying away from a challenge. We're shying away from the idea that we're gonna say it like it is, right from the beginning. We're not gonna delay. We're not gonna push it back. And if we do that, at first it's difficult. It is. I'm here to tell you, it's difficult to say no to people. It's difficult to tell somebody you can't fulfill something. It's difficult to say to somebody you disagree with them in a respectful way. But it's important. And now, it's also important with those goals I talk about. When you promise yourself something, when you say, oh man, I'm going to do that. I'm going to get this grade. I'm going to study longer. I'm going to read more. I'm going to work out extra. And you don't. Well, you automatically start to do the same thing as far as trust and reliability and perseverance goes, but to yourself. And boy, once you don't trust yourself, where does that leave you? So look, don't make pie crust promises. Our word in life is everything. That's what you have. That's a bond that you make with somebody that builds up your trust. And it takes character to do it, and it shows your character when you do it successfully. So look, there's your answer. It's as easy as that. Pie crusts, baking, promises, and character. They all have to do with each other. So make sure next time you promise something to somebody that it's not as fragile as a pie crust. Make it a little harder to say. Take a step back and pause. Next time you're going to promise something to yourself, make sure you're not going to be holding a crumbled mess when you're done. That's it for this week. Hey, I always appreciate you taking the time to listen. I never take it for granted. If you found something valuable, if you heard something valuable, even if it is about baking, make sure you share it, subscribe to get them every week, or more importantly, share it with somebody else. Maybe they'll get some value too. Hey, look, as always, be purposeful, act with integrity, and continue to build your character. You have a great week.